Hi guys, welcome back, and this time around I bring you Gizaudio's latest collaboration. It's the Dunu X Gizaudio DaVinci. This is the third collaboration that Gizaudio has done. He's previously had collaborations with Linsoul, the Galileo, and then the binary audio Chopin. Either one of those IEMs were priced at specific brackets of the market. The Galileo at around $100, it was a 1+1. The Chopin was a 1+3, priced at around $200. And now the DaVinci is again a further step up in the price bracket that he's trying to focus on. $300, $299 to be more precise. And this is a 2 dynamic driver plus 4 BAs. So kind of follows the configuration that we've seen now become quite popular. The Hype, the Hype 4, sorry, the Dusk, and a few others. Anyway, DaVinci. I want to, before continuing, I want to give my congratulations to Gizaudio. He seems to be, in my opinion, very open and very savvy in the way that he does his collaborations, and he definitely is getting feedback from the potential buyers of his products. And I get the sensation that he's not focusing solely on what his personal preferences, but also then adapting those personal preferences that he has to what the market is also telling him. And with the DaVinci, that was quite evident as he showcased it at the Can Jams shows that recently were held, and that feedback that was that he got from those shows definitely played an influence in what the final tuning was here on the DaVinci. Again, this is just my perception of this is what I feel has been happening, and that, in my opinion, shows a very smart attitude. Some other collaborators or collaborations done by other reviewers focus solely on, this is my tuning, this is my preference, and you like it, you don't like it, that's tough luck. Okay, I can understand that, but at the same time, it's good to get some feedback and see what people are saying, because I mean, what's the point of creating a product which, okay, fine, might be ideally your cup of tea, but it then doesn't captivate a wider audience. And sometimes all that is needed is just a slight adjustment, and you can captivate even an audience that would possibly not even be fond of what your tuning style is, and you can captivate them by doing just slight adjustments. And I think in that aspect, Gizaudio has been quite savvy. Anyway, enough of praising the man. This is the DaVinci. Box, simple, the usual Dunu kind of appearance. In the back, oops, focus. In the back, we get some information pertaining to the specs of the actual IEM. They talk about it having a 35 ohm impedance, a frequency range of 5 to 40,000. There's 2 dynamic drivers, as I mentioned, a 10mm biocellulose driver, and then an 8mm biocellulose driver. They mentioned that both of them are doing ultra low frequency. I mean, and that they are in independent chambers, let's put it that way. I don't know how much of that does make sense, but it is what it is. If they say if they say that's what they've done, that's what they've done. I would personally feel, and this is just my opinion, that perhaps the 10mm is doing the real more sub bass, ultra low bass frequencies, while the 8 is perhaps already handling some of that mid bass impact, and then being followed up by the BAs doing the mids and the highs and the ultra highs. Anyway, it's just my opinion. I could be wrong, so take that with a grain of salt. Box, like I said, simple. Open it up, remove the lid. Inside, The IEMs came over there, simple, nothing again special. And in the bottom there was the case, which I'll show to you in a second, with some of the accessories, a cleaning tool, adapter plug. This is the other plug there for the modular cable. This is one of the set of the tips that DaVinci brings, which I particularly didn't it just didn't gel with me, so I didn't use them. 1 second, let me just take this out of the way here so it doesn't bug us. Anyway, that's that. On to the actual IEM itself. It's got a really nice cable. Dunu does have nice cable, so I wasn't expecting anything to anything different, to be honest. Modular setup. It's got this screw style on it, which I think is actually quite nice. It does convey a certain extra amount of security. The IEMs themselves are a mix of a resin and a wood faceplate. The wood faceplate is always different, depends. I've seen basically 3 different kind of styles. I got this darker one, and I personally like it very much. The Dunu lettering, although it's a little bit on the larger side, it's not, I don't know if it's because of the actual color of the faceplate, it doesn't become too excessive, or it doesn't jump too much in your face. They are relatively big IEMs. I didn't consider them to be huge or anything of the sort, but they are relatively big. I mean, and compared with some of the IEMs that I've got here, yes, you could call them big boys. The case, as I mentioned, is this case here, which I forgot to show, has some other tips. I'm actually using the SS tips that you might have just had a quick glimpse at seeing, and they're working fine. I mean, I don't particularly find the SS tips work very well with me and with the IEMs that I usually listen to, but in this particular case the SS tips worked perfectly, and I actually got better results with the SS tips than the results that I usually get with the KB Aero 7s, or the results that I get with the Venus Velvet, or the results I get with the tips that I get from Penon, these dark this like black and dark green ones that I usually get from them. Anyway, fit, as I said, although it's a little bit on the larger side, it's fine. The ear hook here on the cable, I did find it to be just a little bit too strong, but it's not nothing that I can't solve by just removing the actual material. It doesn't bug me, and that's that. So in terms of the build quality, I think it ticks the right boxes. Solid build quality, it's well put together. In terms of the internal hardware as well, it seems that they've chosen good hardware, good drivers. So there's really not much that I can say. It's well put together, looks the part, it looks the price. I mean, it's $299, it's $300. It looks fine. It's I think. When it comes to that aspect or that side of things, all the boxes have been ticked. Good accessories, which is to be expected from Dunu. Good build quality, which is again is to be expected. So now what we need to know is, what does it sound like? Okay, those that are a little bit savvy will notice that there's one IEM that it's missing here, which is the HIFIGO. It's not on purpose. I actually loaned it to a fellow reviewer. And well, I didn't want to delay this review much more, and so I decided to just do it with the ones that I do have, which I think are more than enough to position the DaVinci. However, I will endeavor to actually do a small comparison with the DaVinci and the HIFIGO when I get it back. What then did I select? Well, I selected a whole bunch of IEMs, as you can see, and actually a few more that I have already taken out, because it's just going to become one of those hour-long reviews, and then I get all sorts of feedback from some of you guys. Anyway, not important. I do what I do, and that's that. I took the IEMs that not only are in its price range, but also more expensive, significantly more expensive, way more expensive, and funny enough, there isn't any IEM here that's actually cheaper than the DaVinci. Again, if there is some other comparison that you guys want me to do, I'll do. I could have had the SM4 here, I'm not going to deny, yes, but I just didn't want to let's say beat a dead horse and kind of again the SM4. No, I'm going to compare this to the IEMs that it's priced at mainly, and the more expensive ones, and the SM4 if you guys want. When I do the Hype 4, I can compare it with the SM4. So I've got on the top there, I've got the Dome from Penon. It's a OnePlus 3, $329. I've got the Yan Moonlight Ultra, that's $1,300, almost $1,289. On the right hand side of the top there, I've got the HIFIGO Mega 5 EST Mark II. There's a Mark III already coming out, which I still haven't which has come out, which I haven't received, and that's the one that's been all the rage now. And the difference between the Mark III and the Mark II is just an area there between 2 and 6.5, 7K, which has got a little bit more energy than that one. That's the only difference. Anyway, when I do get the Mark III, I'll compare them, and I'll talk more about it. And that particular version there was priced at $619. So those IEMs there, all of them are the more expensive ones. I did quite a lot of comparisons and quite a lot of listening between them and the DaVinci, but then I ultimately focused more was on this second line here. What do I have? Yan Canon, that's $367 or $769. My apologies. Pilgrim, $399. Tansio Mirai 10th anniversary, $399. The XINHS EM10 $439, and the Penon 10th anniversary $499. So yes, $299. This is still cheaper than all of them, but these IEMs already are more closely price related. Maybe the Penon there at $500 is, I mean, it's already already pushing it. But anyway, these ones are the ones that I actually focused more, and I focused more because I got more of the similar vibe in terms of sound from them that I was getting from the DaVinci. Okay, so now let's break that down a little bit more. Bass on the DaVinci is very, very good, very well done. Not only does it have loads of depth, but it has the right amount of speed. It has the right amount of dynamic feel that conveys then that cleanliness to the bass. And I think that usage of the 10 and the 8 there has been perfectly achieved, and that's why I said earlier I believe that one is perhaps focused maybe a little bit more on the lower frequencies, and the other one is giving that extra punch, something along the lines of what sometimes we see being done with dynamic drivers and BAs in certain IEMs, where they use the BA to clean up the bass frequency and it's still going down low, but it just gives that cleanliness and incisiveness to the dynamic driver bass. And I think that's perhaps what they've tried to do here with the DaVinci. They've tried to use the 10 and the 8 in a manner where the 8 millimeters smaller size and therefore quicker speed can convey that extra, impact. Okay, so bass on the DaVinci is top marks, cannot say anything. And the reality is, it doesn't stop there. It carries on over into the mids, into the upper mids, and into the treble. And there were occasions even where, although there's no ESTs here, the cleanliness I was getting from the treble, from the upper mids and the treble, was such that I kind of thought, do I have maybe an EST here? And I'm saying this because that's got ESTs, that has got ESTs, this has got ESTs. And that, I think, already says a lot in terms of not only how good the bass is on the DaVinci, but how good then the high frequency has been done. And my hats off to the gentleman that did the tuning, and my hats off as well to Timmy, because they really came together with a nice balance of everything. As I was saying, the mids, the male and the female vocals are, perfect. I mean, you take things like, let's say, for example, The Dress from Dijon, or I take, let me see, I Can't Breathe from her, or It Feels Like Rain from Aaron Neville, or if I go even to things like, for example, let's say, Piano in the Dark from Brenda Russell, or Girl in the Red Dress from Greg Karukis. The vocals on the DaVinci are for me, for my personal taste, for my listening, selection, which I just named some of the songs that I listen to, and you can check them my Acros Ultima playlist. The DaVinci does everything spotlessly well. I mean, I cannot fault it. That's the reality. And then, the treble is, for me again, and okay, fair enough, I'm 53 almost, I'm going deaf, I'm not what I used to be in terms of my hearing is not what it used to be when it was younger. I mean, I can hear up to about 15k and that's that. But the treble that is there and that I can pick up, perfectly done. There's no sibilance, there's no aggressiveness, there's no excessive of anything. It's clean, detailed, and it matches that bass that comes from behind it, and all the subsequent how can I say, the bass quality ultimately again is also dictated by how good the treble is, and vice versa. And you can feel that if the treble wasn't as good as it is on the DaVinci, the bass would have lost a lot of that cleanliness that it has, without a doubt. And it's not the only IEM that has done that. Sometimes we seem to kind of forget that it's the matching of those different frequencies, and then more importantly so, when you are using multiple drivers, how those multiple drivers then are blended together to make it sound as if it's one single driver. That's where the magic happens, and that's what basically separates a well-tuned IEM from a badly tuned IEM. Because if you are able to pick up on the bass drivers and the mid drivers and the upper mid drivers and the treble drivers, if you can distinguish between all of them and don't get that feeling of unison, or of unison, sorry, coming towards you, then I think that part of the coherency hasn't been properly achieved. And that aspect, I think the DaVinci is spot on, okay? As are other IEMs here, by the way. I'm not just saying that the DaVinci is the only one that does that. And the reality is this, and I mean, over the last couple of weeks, as is again the case, we have been inundated with so many good IEMs, and kind of every time I do a review, it seems like, okay, I'm gonna have to say again that this IEM is good because it is good, and and just now these guys are gonna start thinking it. But Tony only says all the IEMs are good. Doesn't he ever say an IEM is bad? Well, I do say an IEM is bad when it's bad, but the truth is, everything that's basically come through my hands, or the majority of things that's basically come through my hands in the last couple of weeks, has been very good. And that makes it extremely difficult, not only for me as a reviewer to convey to you guys, what is the best, what is the worst, because the differences that exist are so minute, so minor, that for me and for maybe 30 or 40% you might pick up on it, and then another 30 or 40% might not pick up on them and think that I'm wrong in what I'm saying. So it is extremely hard. And my biggest recommendation, or my first recommendation, is if you live in a part of the world, which unfortunately I don't live, if you live in a part of the world where you have access, like for example, if you live in Singapore and you have access to go and listen to these IEMs, please get off the sofa or whatever you are, go to these places and listen to these IEMs. If you want to take my playlist so that you can have a basis of comparison, perfect. So you can say, oh, Tony said this song, this play, take it and listen to them. Okay, don't believe me, straight away that no, go and listen to them, because you will be able to see how hard it is for me to many times convey that the differences that exist are so minute. As I just said, I mean, Sim got with the SM4 just recently. It came and throw a wrench into the whole equation of what is obtainable at under $200. It is a phenomenal IEM. The full Explorer in its own way and in its own right, again at $119, it's a tremendous IEM. I mean, it's like, oh my God, how have they done this? And again, with the DaVinci, we have another situation which is exactly the same. This at $299, this at $300 has come and it has thrown a wrench into the IEMs that are priced at that value, where you are hard pressed to not have to admit that it's a really good IEM. I mean, for example, I'm going to take here the Tancio Mirada, the 10th anniversary. Fantastic IEM. I mean, you listen to it by itself, it is really, really good. The bass and the switches, and how the switches affect the bass, and then how you can actually get different tunings because the switches are doing their job. It is a really, really solid IEM. But you listen to the Tansio and you listen to the DaVinci, and you know, it's extremely difficult to say, okay, this has got $100 on the DaVinci, but it's got $100. It's worth it because you get better sound. No. With all respect to Tansio Mirai fans and to Panon Audio, no, it is a good IEM, phenomenal bass. I would say the bass of the 10th anniversary is on par with the bass of the DaVinci. You know, with sometimes the 10th taking the win, sometimes the DaVinci taking the win. But the mids, the upper mids and treble on the DaVinci are wow. And the number of times that it just outdoes and just outclasses the 10th anniversary, or more than the other way around. You know, that's the truth. I mean, you listen to something like, for example, as I was just saying, Piano in the Dark, and it's noticeable that this just does it slightly more elegantly than the 10th. It does it. You listen to Space by Gianni McElroy. Same situation, you know. Let me see. Yeah, just a little loving from Shelby Ryan is another one. This just does it just a little extra bit more, you know, more polished. Now that's me, my ears, my units. Maybe you guys will put these two in your ears and come out with a different opinion. But that's how I am perceiving it. And again, let me just make this perfectly clear. I'm detracting absolutely nothing, because if they were priced at the same value, okay, you know. But the thing is, this has got $100 price tags lower than that. I think I've said enough. What I've just said applies itself again to the Pilgrim. The Pilgrim, I think, is a very, very nicely done IEM as well. Nice. If you choose your tip carefully, you can control that peak at 5K, give or take a bit more, that some people are complaining about. The Venus tips for me worked perfectly in that aspect. I think this is phenomenal. But you hear this and you hear that, and yes, they are, I would say, at lower volumes, closely matched to a certain extent. But then this just has that extra amount of cleanliness, and when you start pushing the volume, that, yes, the Pilgrim does come alive, undeniably, but this it's just more polished. You know, it's just, that's it. The Canon 2 is probably one of the first ones that does trade some more serious blows here with the DaVinci. The bass, in terms of ultimate extension, maybe just loses ever so slightly to the DaVinci, but it's got the impact. Okay. And then in terms of the mids and upper mids and treble, a little bit more energetic, and that's one thing that you notice very easily, because it's a much easier IEM to power than the DaVinci. But it's actually quite interesting, because with certain genres like EDM, which the DaVinci does do surprisingly very well, with the EDM, with, you know, electronic music, or with some Amapiano, which is that style of South African mix of jazz and house and tribal and music, I was actually enjoying the Canon more times than the DaVinci. You know, so the Canon 2, surprisingly, because I honestly, it was one of the last IEMs that I was hearing in the comparison. I was thinking, okay, this is, you know, it's going to be, and surprisingly, the Canon 2 kept up pretty well with the DaVinci, trading very good blows with DaVinci. And I'll even go further. The Canon, compared to its bigger brother, the Moonlight, did a better job. You know, and when you consider that there's like a $70 price difference here, if you have this, I wouldn't say no, okay, it's time to sell, or no. But if you have a Moonlight Ultra, and again, however much I like the Ultra, and I've said it from the beginning, the Ultra I think was just overpriced, totally overpriced. The price increase was almost double, if not even double. I think the standard Moonlight Ultra was, the standard Moonlight was $629, if I'm not mistaken. So they basically doubled the price by increasing just 2 more ESTs. So Canon, Pilgrim, Hype, 10th anniversary. Onto this side, I'll talk about the 10th anniversary again first. The 10th anniversary is, and I stand by that, it's probably one of the nicest tribrits that Panon has made. Panon, ISN, Tanfemirai. So those group of IEMs which come from Panon. Very, very good treble extension. And that's the one area that straight away, when you do listen to one and the other, you notice that the 10th has got just a little extra amount of cleanliness up top. Definitely. You also notice that in terms of the cleanliness and the impact of the bass, that keeps up with the DaVinci, or the DaVinci keeps up with the 10th, which way you want to put it. Now, in terms of the low bass, the really like rumble, this does not have the same rumble as the DaVinci. No, it doesn't. The DaVinci is superior. And then in terms of the mids, it's a kind of a give and take. They trade blows. Now, as I said earlier, $299, $499. So there's $200 here difference. Is that price difference justified? I'll leave it at that. Really good IM. I mean, compared to the 10th, it does better than the 10th. The 10th does have more bass extension than this. So I would guess the ideal IEM here would be the bass of the 10th with the mids and upper mids and treble of the Panon 10th. That match there, okay, that would be something. Having said that, please keep in mind that's got 6mm dynamic drivers. So for two 6mm dynamic drivers, the amount of bass that it has, really, really good. So don't underestimate small drivers. I mean, the perfect example of that is the Chimera, the Loki. And we talk the Loki, we talk as well the Urd, which is an 8mm driver. Don't underestimate small drivers. Don't. Especially like these high quality 6mm drivers that they've used here. They are impressive. So I would say that yes, in terms of overall performance, they are very similar. The difference here and the deciding factor will be price. And then finally the EM10. Again, the price difference is $139, $140. I would say that in terms of the bass, this probably just edges out a little bit more the EM10 because it's just got a little bit extra low bass. Okay. But then in terms of mids, upper mids and treble, I would say they are very comparable. I would even say that perhaps and looking now at the broader audience, perhaps more people will find this bass heavy, while more people will find that more coherent, more audiophile sounding. Okay, so I would say that again, these two, they have different overall tuning ideas or tuning objectives, so it's not entirely a fair comparison. But without a doubt, when I take the DaVinci and I kind of, okay, which are the IEMs here that, you know, can keep up with the DaVinci in terms of performance? Definitely the Canon 2, definitely the EM10, definitely the Panon 10th anniversary. The Tanfemirai 10th anniversary, it can pick up, it can keep up to a certain extent, but once you push the volume and once you start wanting to go fetch those extra little details, or if you listen to a lot of wind instruments, you notice the DaVinci is just more polished. It's more there. With the Pilgrim, I think the more noticeable thing is that the Pilgrim, at least to my ears, the Pilgrim just sounds darker, and the bass, yes, it's not on the same level, but the bass is very well matched with the mids and upper mids and treble that the Pilgrim has. So this is just darker sounding. It's maybe just not as detailed as the DaVinci to my ears. Okay, I find the DaVinci more detailed. With regards to those three at the top there, like I said, I just had a listen to them. I took them for a test drive, and look, the Dome is good, but you know, when you compare similar prices, this is the more competent IEM. The Ultra, no justification for that value when the performance isn't, you know, no. And the High Senior, again, that's just make that clear, that's the Mark II version. The Mark II version, it kind of falls within the same as the Pilgrim. It's although it's got the ESTs, it just sounds a little bit more warmer, a little bit darker, and the mids sound a little bit recessed as compared to the DaVinci. So overall, what I can definitely say is that the Dunu, the DaVinci, has kind of come to make a mess of things. You know, the price that they've chosen is highly competitive, well accessorized. I mean, there's really nothing that I can sit here and say, no, it's not worth it. Now, obviously, if you haven't bought any of these IEMs, okay, the value that it has makes it an obvious first choice. That's the reality. The ones that would be the first more solid choices or alternatives to the DaVinci for me is the Canon 2 and then the EM10. Although I would say that these two share more in terms of their sound, let's say, premise, as opposed to the EM10 and the DaVinci. But look, it's not big differences. I mean, the reality is these two of my first initial choices, you know, because of the price and performance and so on. And then close after those two would be the 10th anniversary from Panon, and then the Pilgrim and the 10th anniversary from Tansio Mirai. Okay, again, let me just repeat this so that people don't start thinking that, oh no, all of these IEMs, yeah, every single one of them is excellent in its own right. There's no real faults here, and the main determining factor here ultimately is the value, because when you have something which is so closely matched in terms of overall performance, you know, the value, what it costs, is what is going to be the deciding factor, and that's where, you know, Dunu has just made a mess of things, because much like the SimGot SM4, it just performs way above what it should cost. You know, if we were talking here, and I said something along those lines when I mentioned the EM10, you know, if this was costing $400 or more even, okay, maybe, you know, you could start making slightly different arguments. But, you know, when I look at it at $300, what I get in accessories, what I get in terms of build, and what I get in terms of performance, there is very little that I can fault. I mean, if I take this, and I'll just make this quick last comparison, and I listen to the Blessing 3 compared to it, this walks all over the Blessing 3. There's nothing that the Blessing 3 does better than this. And I only wish I had the Dusk, because this compared to the Dusk with its analog connection, not DSP. I don't want to I don't want to see, honestly. If I do see anybody comparing this to the Dusk in DSP, they are not being professional. They are not being professional. Okay, because then I want to also equalize this, and I want to also get this equalized. All right, that's the first thing. Second thing is, how in good, you know, in God's good earth, can the DSP cable equalized, okay, and taking and extracting the best performance of the Dusk actually be better than the DaVinci, okay, connected to a Q15, for example, let's say it that way? How can it be? It cannot be. If that is the case, then it makes no point in spending $300+ on something like this. It makes no point. Let's all just buy DSP cables, because those DSP cables are what it's worth. You know, come on. Let's be realistic and coherent, and use our gray matter a little bit here. Okay, guys, show you the graphs now. I'll wrap it up. Hi guys, and welcome now to the graph section here for the DaVinci. The two graphs I've got up there are with the SS tips and with the gray tips that come with the DaVinci. The SS tip gives me the red line, and the other one gives me the bluish purple line is the gray tip. I personally I prefer it with the SS tip. It just gave me that extra little bit of more air of sparkle, without that air of sparkle being fake or fictitious or colored or not realistic. And that's why I think as well I got that sensation at times that I was maybe even having some EST magic going on there. Anyway, I will be doing the rest of the comparisons using the SS tips like I mentioned, and as you can see from what I said earlier, beautifully executed bass, sub-bass focus definitely, flat by 200 hertz, and then a very, very, very slow progressive pinna gain, peaks at about 3, maintains itself, a little dip here in that 5 to 6K area, and then extension past 10K. Pinna gain, we're talking about 7, 8 dBs, 7.5, 8 dBs, bass gain about 10 dBs, so a definite focus on the bass. Some might even say that this is a V-shaped signature. I don't consider it a V-shaped signature. I find it to be, I'm not going to say, well, I guess probably the most correct would maybe be for me to say it's kind of a harmonish style of a signature, but it's got this tucked bass, and the tucked bass has been very well done, honestly, very, very well done. Anyway, that's that. First one I'm going to be showing you now is compared with the Elysian the Pilgrim. Okay, and this is the Elysian the Pilgrim. Everything has been normalized at 1K, by the way, so that you guys, oops, let me take this one out. Everything has been normalized at 1K. The Pilgrim, yes, definitely much leaner in the bass. But as you can see, there's really not, I mean, graphically at least, you wouldn't think that there would be such a big difference. But when you do listen to it, the Elysian comparatively with the DaVinci sounds darker. You know, it just sounds more closed down. However, that doesn't mean that it doesn't sound good. No, it sounds very, very, very good. But when you consider that one is $399, the other one is $299, and they have a similar style of sound, perhaps even a little bit better in the DaVinci in terms of overall details and technicalities, you know, it's a hard one to justify. So that's the Pilgrim. The next one now I'm going to be showing you is the 10th anniversary from Penon. Okay, this is the 10th anniversary. Let me actually change the color here so something can be a little bit more visible. Now, don't forget the 10th anniversary is using those 6mm drivers. So this bump here, what you might think, oh, it's going to be spoiling the bass or anything, no. It's nothing like that. And also it doesn't have the same sort of sub-bass, at least noticeable extension like the DaVinci has. It does have a nice clean mid-bass impact, definitely. The mids for the most part sound very similar, but then it's this area of the upper treble that because of the ESTs, it just, you notice there's more information, more twinklies and sparklies there, and it's very well executed. That's the reality. Okay. It's like I said, it's $500, but you know, if I'm looking purely in terms of sound, they sound more similar than what you would expect them to sound, at least by looking at them graphically. Okay, so that's that. Next one I'm going to be showing you is the Yan Yan Moonlight. I'm just going to show you quickly so you guys can have an idea. This is the Moonlight, very similar graph as you can see. This is the Moonlight in the up position of the switches. Yes, you do notice that there's a little bit more extension up top on the Moonlight as compared to the DaVinci, but overall, and I'm not going to say this because I've got anything against the Yan Yan. Please, no, I don't. I have nothing against the Yan Yan. The Yan Yan in itself is a very good IM. The DaVinci just offers the same performance at a quarter of the price. It's as simple as that. Okay. The Tanzania, the 10th anniversary. Let's do that one now straight away. That's the 10th anniversary. Bass-wise, I would say, and I would confirm what I mentioned earlier, this bass-wise, I would think maybe even the 10th anniversary has got a slight edge over the DaVinci, especially because you got those bass switches, and this is without the bass even being emphasized, so definitely yes. However, when you do emphasize the bass, yes, you do lose some of the quality, but in this setting, which I'm not emphasizing the bass, it's a 011, the bass is phenomenal. It's nice and deep. It's just that the 10th sounds darker, and I would say up to mid volumes, it's, you know, kind of, they're okay. But then from there onwards, you notice the DaVinci just has that extra amount of detail, which is quite noticeable by this. And not only more detail, but just cleaner, just more elegant in the way that it sounds. Again, the biggest, and I know I'm repeating myself, these are not huge differences, guys. Please trust me, these are not huge differences. You pick up on them, I pick up on them because of my music or my playlist and so on. But these are not huge differences. The determining factor ultimately between the Tanzania, the 10th anniversary, and the DaVinci will be price. And, you know, when you have this price difference and you have an IM which is as competent and even more competent because it's more elegant, more smoother, more properly executed, even if it's just by a little bit, than the other one, the choice is obvious, I think. That's the 10th anniversary. The Mega 5 EST, the Mark II version, as you can see, very similar graph. It couldn't be more different when in terms of sound. Yes, the bass kind of has certain similar vibes, and I guess at the mids to a certain extent. But then you notice that this area between 4 and 6 it's quieter. It's more recessed in the treble than it is on the DaVinci, and it doesn't have that extension up top that the DaVinci has, although it's got ESTs. And for some reason, which graphically you would never pick up on it, the mids here to upper mids, they sound more recessed. Okay, so that's the Mega 5 EST Mark II version, not the latest one. I'll do that comparison when I have it, and I'll do it with the Hype 4, and I'll do it with the Super Mix 4 as well. Consumer 10th anniversary I've shown you. Yanyan Mark II, this one I haven't shown you. Yanyan Mark II, very similar again. As you can see in terms of the bass, yes, there is occasions where the bass just sounds a little bit more impactful, okay? But bass very similar. Mids for the most part are very similar. The difference here, the real main difference is, although they are trading blows and equally have both extension, and you can also play around with the switches of the Canon and maybe improve the mids slightly there, or at least give a perception of the mids being cleaner by lowering the bass level, although I prefer it in the 1/1 position like I have it here, which basically just increases or decreases the bass by 3 dBs roughly, you know, in rough terms. I just feel that the Yanyan is a little bit less polished, but it compensates that less polish by being more energetic. So with certain genres, it will perform better. It will be more engaging. Okay, I would say that the Yanyan with rock definitely will be more engaging than the DaVinci. That's just my personal opinion. Okay, now that's the Canon out of the way. I know I'm missing something. Moonlight I've shown you. Pendant 10th anniversary I've shown you. Pilgrim, oh yes, SimGot, there we go, SimGot EM10L, SimGot EM10L, EM10, sorry, not EM10L. Again, very similar, the overall curve of frequency graph of one and the other, but the SimGot is using a small dynamic driver, and that small dynamic driver, although in terms of the quality of the bass, it's the same as the DaVinci. The quantity is not the same. The DaVinci does have more bass. And then in terms of the mids and the treble, they are trading blows between each other. I mean, honestly, I would still think that I would still say that the EM does edge out ever so slightly the DaVinci in regards to the mids, upper mids, and treble. It does ever so slightly, but it's not a huge difference. Okay, and that balance that is struck between the two frequency extremes is different. While on the DaVinci, if you look on the DaVinci, you would not say, but the DaVinci is more bass focused. Okay, with the rest coming in a slope downwards. The EM10 is the opposite. By graphically, you wouldn't say that, but it's more mid-focused, okay, with the bass then sloping downwards. That's how that would pan out in terms of the sound, okay. And that's that, guys. I mean, I hope I was able to give a good idea of what the DaVinci is. And as I mentioned earlier, it's a winner. Basically, it's as simple as that. It's a winner. It's a very nicely tuned IM. Congratulations to Gizaudio once again, and to Dunu, of course, because they're the ones that actually made it. I mean, you guys have got a market disruptor there. That's it, as simple as that. We've been having a few market disruptors lately. This is one of them. The SM4 definitely is another one. You know, another market disruptor, a completely different one, but it's still a market disruptor, was in my opinion, was the CCA, the Hydro. Definitely, I mean, nobody was expecting that kind of performance out of a CCA or a KZ, let's put it that way. And then to a lesser extent, but also still a very, very competently tuned IM, especially at the asking price that it's being sold for, is the Keyfind, the DaVinci, another very, very solid IM in terms of single ED, like seriously good. And the RTT10, you know, when you consider that you can pick up that planar for $60 and it offers you performance which is very similar to the performance of an S12 Pro, there's really not much more than I can say. I mean, you have a proper tuner, a properly tuned planar for not that much money. Anyway, guys, as always, like and subscribe. Any questions, please feel free to ask me. All right, you take care now. Bye-bye.